I think it's working. Let's see. Let's go on here and see if this is working. Am I live? I am live. Oh my goodness. So good. Welcome, welcome everybody. I'm going to let the algorithm do its thing for a moment, allow people to come and join this discussion, this resonance today. This is a calibration. This is what we're all about on today's call. And I'm so excited to have you guys here. I actually have had butterflies leading up to this call. I feel so deeply honored and so fulfilled that I am able to share this discussion of magic and alchemy, of recalibrations, redefining the rules and structures of reality, of life. Because to me, not only has this been a really big part of my own journey, it's sort of a dharmic cycle for me, but it's just so exciting. And I get giddy with excitement from just bubbling inside when I have the opportunity to share these ideas with others, to create these catalysts and ripples within starseeds, entrepreneurs, creatives, those of you who wish to lead the way. So welcome to today's training. If you are tuning in, say hello and let me know what made you curious about attending today's training with me. And if you are a first time magic alchemist in that space, let me know. Or if you are somebody who has worked with alchemy before or magic, or you have your own practice, you're deep down the rabbit hole, also let me know. And I can see your comments here, so I'm checking if you guys ask questions as well. So today we're here because there's a gap happening between an awareness of a desire of where you desire to be, where you want to be, and where you presently are. Your present circumstances. You're in an in between. Some of you guys are tuning in because you are feeling stuck and stagnate in the structure that you're in your life, be it your business or a relationship or a family structure or a career structure. Maybe you have lost the creative spark. Everything feels like a toil. It feels difficult. It feels like pushing, coercion. And you want to figure out how to rekindle that spark, how to get that passion, that purpose, that fulfillment going. Some of you guys are tuning in today because you desire to call to yourself the resources, the love, the relationships, the ideas, the solutions. Because up until this point, it feels like everything you acquire in your life comes at a cost. It comes at a sacrifice. Let me know, by the way, if any of this resonates, if you're in the right place. Some of you guys are here right now because of financial circumstances, just not where you want it to be. And I put a post up in the group recently, a poll asking, what is it that you desire the most? And without it, hands down, the winner chicken dinner was financial freedom and abundance, wealth. Also coming in hot, right at the same, almost the same level, was fulfillment, flow, and purpose. So some of you guys, many of you guys are tuning in today actually because there is a spinning of the wheels of frustration financially. Maybe you're burnt out, you're overwhelmed, you're doing all the tricks in the book, you're hiring the people, you're following all the strategies and the steps, and yet You cannot seem to be able to break past a certain income revenue. Perhaps what is happening is that maybe you are making some financial success or revenues. You're able to attract inflows of money, but it just seems to disappear the moment it comes into your bank account. And at the end of each month, you're still left with that same scrambling, stressed out, anxious feeling. Maybe what is happening is that the structure of which you acquire money, how you cultivate and attract money to yourself, is done in a way that isn't aligned with you. You're not excited about what you're talking about. You're not fulfilled. It feels like the moment you want to take a break or a holiday, the house of cards is going to fall down. So you constantly have to have that foot on the pedal. You constantly have to be, talking and doing things that you don't necessarily want to do, because that's where your money's coming from. That's how you're generating money. And so you don't have creative freedom. You don't have the ability to rest and recover if that's what you choose to do. You don't have the ability to have the discussions and conversations, or just be a fart in the wind and go do a painting because that's what you want to do. Everything you do creatively is always for money. Always for money. So you're a slave, chained, and you're not sure how to get yourself out of this. Let me know if this resonates. And if this resonates, then definitely this is going to be the workshop for you. Today's discussion is going to be a really big eye-opener, because I can definitely relate with all of those situations. And I am here to help you calibrate to a new way of approaching these situations. Let me just put this comments on so I can see you guys. So, by the way, let me know, tuning in to see how much my friend has grown. Yes, hey, Michael. So, Michael Jackson, funny story about him. I'm going to share this. You were homeless when we first started working together, living in your car. This was for the academy. And now, so proud. Tuning in because I think you're mega cool. 6-figure or 7, 8. Yeah. Okay. So yes, for sure this conversation is going to help you on how to crack that 6, 7. But actually, I hope that after we have this call together, you're going to rethink a lot of what you just said here, because this is part of the problem. The financial frustration and separation from feeling on the right path. That's how I'm a builder. That's how I make money. I work my ass off for every penny I get. Yeah, so it's like you're literally trading sweat equity for cash. No freedom. Because the moment you get sick, or the moment something happens to you, how do you generate cash, right? I need a real mentor. No BS. Right. Well, this conversation is definitely not going to have BS. Nice. Yes, Christine is in Resonance Rituals. Amazing. So let me ask you guys this, because without a doubt, financial and creative freedom stood out as your top desires that you wish. Financial freedom being fulfillment, purpose, flow, the ability to rest, recover, go, honoring that pace at which you want to operate. But this is what I want to ask you guys. What does that mean to you? What does freedom mean to you specifically? A lot of people say, I want financial freedom, or I want freedom in my life, but what is that? Define that for me. What does freedom mean for you? One of the things you'll hear me say over and over again about alchemy and magic and the process of magic is that the first step is always our intention. It's always intent. If we don't know this, or we don't have clarity on this, and we don't know how to communicate it verbally or written, the strong language is the strongest symbol to humans. It's unlikely that we will ever bring ourselves to what we seek. So this is an important exercise in flexing that muscle. Tell me, what is freedom to you? What does that mean to you? To be able to do what you like when you want, spend my time stress-free, peace of mind, no financial stress. I can't be sick. Yeah. And what are some of the ways that you think freedom is obtained? How do you think freedom is obtained? How do you think one acquires? If you have observed individuals in your life, and mind you, there's not that many people, I will say, who are modeling true creative and financial freedom. This is one of the issues that we'll talk about today, is that even in the entrepreneurial community, most of the successful people you see, I mean, sometimes I see people that I really aspire to that I think have just the craziest, I know they have these huge financial businesses behind them, saying things like, oh, I finally get to take 30 days off. This is my first time taking 30 days off in 4 years or whatever. And I'm shocked when I read that, because that sounds horrible. I want to take 30 days off all the bloody time. So it's very rare to find people actually modeling true creative and financial freedom in our society. But of the ones that you've observed, how do you think they got that? How do you think financial freedom is obtained? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So for the longest time, I thought, like many people, that financial and creative freedom was achieved through money. More money equal more freedom. That was the equation I had in my head, because that's literally what we're sold and packaged from day dot. Yes? We are told, hey, you want to have the nice lifestyle and all that stuff? Money. Money is going to get you that. So that was my equation. That was my belief system for the longest time. But something really interesting happened. I built an 8-figure company, multi-million-dollar company, more revenues than I could even imagined on those vision boards, just beyond what I could have dreamed of, beyond what I desired financially for freedom. When I believed this equation that money creates freedom, I remember thinking, oh, if only I have $1 million, I'll be free. I can just be a fart in the wind and write books and do paintings and just be me. How good will that be? But then I found myself earning a 6-figure a month salary, guys. 6-figure a month. In 1 month, earning more than a doctor makes in a year. This girl who dropped out of high school, who was a teenage stripper, who was a fucking mess for the majority of my early adult life, earning these crazy amounts of money. Freedom. But I wasn't free. I was trapped and depressed. The equation didn't work. And I observed this in my peers as well. I started to, and this is why the depression got really bad, because I had conquered the mountain. I had conquered the equation. I had done the math behind it. Check, check, check. Freedom. Where is it? And then I was like, fuck, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I thought. This is not aligned to me. And I realized there was more mountains to conquer, and it would never be enough, and there would always be more. And I saw my peers doing the same thing in the same hamster wheel, trapped and stuck by their businesses, by the structures they had created, not free at all. And I got so depressed, because I was like, what the fuck? I've been sold a lie. This equation is broken. Can you agree that overwhelm and unfulfillment occurs at any income bracket? Yes or yes? Maybe you haven't experienced that yet because you haven't been to the income bracket you desire. But I'll tell you, I was there. I had the money. Where the fuck was the freedom? Unfulfillment, overwhelm, confusion, frustration, depression, all of these things happen regardless of the income level that you're in. Doesn't matter. So then common sense says, well, fuck, then it's not money that delivers freedom. It can't be, because if people are making 6 figures a month and they don't feel free and they don't have creative and financial freedom, then it's not the money that solves for this. It's not the money that brings this. And this is one of the biggest the most insidious, I want to say, the most prolific and insidious belief that so many of us have bought into. And so many of us, it takes for us to hustle and toil our whole lives to solve that equation, to finally get there, to finally realize, fuck, have mental breakdowns or whatever it takes for us to recalibrate before we acknowledge we were sold an equation that was broken to begin with. Creative and financial freedom have nothing to do with money. Why is this important to know and to really resonate with? Because if you're saying things to yourself like, help me get a 6-figure or a 7-figure business so that I can have freedom, you're working with the wrong equation, mate. And you're going to end up at the same place where so many people end up, looking around going, holy shit, what the fuck just happened? This wasn't what I thought. I became cynical of money. You know, I most of you guys know my story by now. I got depressed, really depressed. This beautiful company I had built, suddenly revenues started to plateau. They started to go backwards. My mental health started to decline. And I had a mental breakdown. And I couldn't even get out of bed for a few months. So I resigned as CEO, and it forced me to recalibrate. But in that process, I became very cynical and bitter about money because I then associated everything that had gone on, the depression, the mental breakdown, all of that, as the pursuit of money had been the problem. Money had been the problem. I became one of these people who became resentful that I even had to think about money as part of my reality, that we were living in a capitalistic structure. In my head, I just wanted to become a hippie. No more money, just live in the woods and that's it. I blamed the money, but really, it was my fault because I was working with the wrong equation. I was working with an equation where money comes into my life creating chaos because I wasn't aligned. I wasn't calibrated. I wasn't setting the boundaries. I was waiting for reality to go, here's your freedom. As if there's like, you know, a line or something that you cross revenue-wise, and then it's like, you did it. Here's your freedom on a silver platter. Well done, cat. Literally. I think that's literally what I thought in my head that would happen. I did investments. I did all the things with my money, and it still didn't pan out the way that I wanted. And this is a really big key of alchemy, of magic, is the foundational understanding. Reality is never going to validate your desires. It's never going to be the first one to make that move. Never. And this explains why no amount of money is ever going to give you what you really desire. It explains why when you don't validate it first, when you're waiting for reality to validate that in you, when money comes into your life, it causes chaos. It stresses you out even more. It imprisons you in the structure even more. It makes you even more anxious than before. This is not what money is supposed to do. Money is a human construct that is here to support your expansion and growth, your creative expression. It is here to reduce chaos in your life, not enhance it or increase it. But if we are working off an equation where we're waiting for reality to hand us a silver platter of freedom and financial abundance, then yes, we encounter a lot of chaos. Not because we're trying to punish ourselves, but because we're trying to gently, sometimes sternly, guide ourselves back into remembering, fuck, that is not a good equation. That is only going to lead us to more chaos. And so we can bypass the need to have to go and make millions of dollars and become depressed and have a mental breakdown by simply acknowledging this and calibrating to this first. You are the one that leads the way. Freedom is something that you give yourself. Be very clear here. I'm not talking about freedom as in you don't even need money in your life. You don't need all those things that you desire. Just be happy and settle for that forever. This is not what this conversation about. This is actually about how to unleash a lot of money in your life. So for me, it took that rock bottom for me to actually realize, oh shit, okay. Yeah, I don't want to do that again. That didn't work out. And that didn't give me what I wanted. Yeah, I wanted money for sure. But I really wanted the money because I really wanted freedom. That's why I had always chased money. That's why I started my business to begin with. I didn't want to go to a 9 to 5. I didn't want to sit in traffic all day. I didn't I didn't want someone to tell me, no, you can't do that, Kat. That's not part of our business plan this year. I wanted freedom. I'm the kind of person that has a lot of ideas. I have a million tabs open at once. And I want to explore them if that's what I feel compelled to do. And I want to also abandon it if that's what I feel compelled to do. And I don't want to be stuck in a structure that doesn't provide me with that fluidity, because it's just not who I am as a creative being. I like to flow and I have lots of ideas. So business for me was always a ticket to that. It was always a ticket to, I'm going to unlock financial and creative freedom in my life, where I can be with my children, where I can travel for a month and I don't have to ask a boss if I can take holiday. That was what freedom was. But I was waiting for money to give this to me. This is why I had set my compass to money, because I thought that the money was what would give that to me. And then the more money I made, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough because I didn't have the freedom. And I was like, okay, now we need to go to 10 million. Now we need to go to 15 million. Now we need to go to 20 million. And I sustained that for about 6 years. I coerced and forced myself in this equation under this structure until thankfully, I had a mental breakdown, because I could have kept on doing that. I could have been at 100 million right now and even more depressed, even more stuck in the structure that I was in. But I was provided with an opportunity to recalibrate, restructure the way I approached my desires. It wasn't the money that I was after, it was the freedom. It was the peace of mind that you guys are talking about, right? The easiness, the fluidity, the ability to go, man, I don't feel good today. I'm just going to sleep. Versus before, I was literally on phone calls from like 9 a.m. till night, sales calls, client calls, meetings, team meetings, putting out fires, emails, to-do lists that are like blah, 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 blah. And every day I write out my to-do list because I'm somebody that has to write things down, and not even being able to scratch like one or two things off the list. Just like spinning my wheels in the mud, never really getting anywhere. My business this year is such a stark black and white contrast to what I had before. I launched Flow Protocols back in October 2021. So I want to say that's like 7 months, maybe a bit more. I'm not sure. 7 months ago, tomorrow I fly out. I go on holiday with my family. I have one call on my calendar for the whole week, and that's it. Nothing else. I don't have a big team. I don't have a fancy office. I don't have any of the things that I had before in 8Loop, this multi-million-dollar company that I created. But yet, I have freedom. My business, Flow Protocols, has turned over $250,000 in 7 months. And I know that that's nowhere near $20 million. But what's interesting is that I have the freedom and I don't need $20 million. And because of that, it's coming to me so easily. Clients are attracted to me. Before, it was so difficult. Ads, feeding ad budget all the time. Sometimes spending $50,000, $60,000 a month on Facebook ads, and then an ad account gets shut down or something happens with Facebook and the whole funnel is blocked. Sales teams, massive sales team, and the moment one salesperson is, out of whack in their mindset, the whole thing crumbles. Huge commissions to pay out every month, huge expenses all the time. And me constantly going like, fuck, if I don't keep like hustling and grinding, this house of cards is gonna fall and no one's gonna get paid. And it was so exhausting. And this is why I felt stuck. And this is why I had no creative freedom, really. Because I knew I was tired of talking about growing agencies and Facebook ads, but I had built a structure in an attempt to build freedom for myself that was so unaligned to what I really wanted, waiting for reality to feed back what I wanted, to validate what I wanted, and I became trapped in this structure that I created for myself. Now, I literally spend some of my days just doing arts and crafts. I garden a lot. When I have conversations with clients, when I show up like this, it's because I truly want to have this conversation. It's because it excites me to my core. It is so aligned to my creative core. Not because I have to, make sure I pay payroll this month or keep this beast alive. So something really interesting has happened in that shift, because while this business is really new and it hasn't even come close to scratching the revenues I did before, it is so much more freedom. And I realized, actually, ironically, I don't need 20 million or 100 million to live a life of freedom. And the greatest irony of that is the moment I let those ideas go, suddenly money is just 10 times easier. It flows without chaos. It flows in my life to reduce chaos. It comes in my life to support my expression. But getting there, making that shift, really had nothing to do with the way I structured things or the strategies that I used or, how many things I got off my to-do list. In fact, I will tell you, it almost had nothing to do with the money I made before because I squandered a lot of that. I didn't know how to receive money. It had everything to do with a shift in my own calibration, with an attitude. This is what I call the resonance. When I was at that rock bottom, everything dropping away that I had built for so many years, falling around me, total chaos. And I found myself recovering and feeling inspired again and wanting to show up as a mentor, as a teacher, as an author, these projects that I aspired to dedicate myself to. I realized I could easily fall back into that equation, or I now had an opportunity to create the boundaries and work from there. Money does not give you freedom. You give yourself freedom, period. And then money comes to support that. When we work from the equation that money equals freedom, when money comes in our lives, it comes with chaos, period. And if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling stuck, trapped, unfulfilled, confused, that is chaos. That is a sign that you're working from the wrong equation, my friend. Now, the good news is you don't have to lose everything and have mental breakdowns and all of this stuff to recalibrate, because you are the alchemist. You get to recalibrate. You get to decide that. Nothing outside of you needs to change. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. That is you who makes that decision, who sets that structure, who sets those boundaries. And this is why the alchemist is the one who leads the way. You must find the resonance, the feeling space of what financial and creative freedom feel like. And if you want both, then you got to find the resonance for both. Yesterday, I had an incredible interview with a man that I really respect, who helped open my eyes to magic, Dr. Dean Radin. And we talked about how the best way to ensure that you create the outcome you desire in your reality is to match that probability as closely as possible in your mannerisms, in your thoughts, in your behaviors, and in your actions. This is called the resonance. This is the skill of the alchemist. This is the job of the alchemist. This is literally what we do as alchemists. And if we're looking at the process of magic, setting intentions, and then invoking them into reality, that invocation process is called belief, the resonance. It is arguably the most difficult part of magic, though, but it is crucial. And without this, it doesn't matter. It means you're not working from the right equation. It means you're not calibrated to what you really want. It means you're waiting for reality to validate that. And it means you're going to attract a lot of chaos because you're going to try to invite yourself to remember how powerful you really are, that you don't need chaos. That's what's going to happen. But this part is the most difficult part of magic. Finding that resonance, believing, because how are you supposed to feel rich and wealthy when you've got bills to pay and people knocking at your door and clients dropping off and your bank account is at zero? Easier said than done. How are you supposed to top yourself up with love and connection if what you desire is a divine relationship in your life, when everywhere you look, you're just reminded about how lonely and single and miserable you are? Many of you guys watching this, by the way, are already deep down a rabbit hole. You've done the vision boards, you've done the affirmations, you've done the journaling, you've done meditation. Yeah. You're all in for that stuff. But you're not getting the full result. It's like average results, hit and miss. Because you're missing that part, the resonance, belief, the calibration. You lead the way with that. You're waiting for a man or a woman to say, I love you, so that you feel loved. You're waiting for the clients to go, yeah, let's do it, so that you feel abundant. You're waiting for your investments or who knows what to yield results, to go, here's your creative and financial freedom. That's what you're waiting for. You're not leading the way. And this is why you it's hit and miss with your intentions. It doesn't really work. So what is the resonance? Well, think about this, okay? This is something I think we can all relate to. Have you ever noticed or observed or experienced how it seems to be really easy to manifest the things that you don't really care that much about? Like empty car parks, or yesterday on the call, Dean was talking about, as you begin to work with magic and train yourself as an alchemist, start to manifest small little things that are believable to you, like a coin on the sidewalk. We had someone in the Starseed Coven yesterday, one of our members, I don't know if he's watching, who is also just beginning this journey into alchemy. And so he started with a cup of coffee and he landed it that day. It was so easy for him to manifest that. Why is it so easy to manifest the things that we don't really care about that much, but then the things that we really, really, really want, it's like, fuck, we're broken. Something's broken. We're the reason it's not working. What's going on? Because what you will find when you pay attention to the calibration, the resonance, the vibration of your very being, the things that you want, you kind of let it go. You believe it's going to happen. Doesn't bother you. You don't stay up at night going, oh my God, am I going to have that cup of coffee tomorrow? Belief. Yes, we're going to talk about that, Mark. This is why most people don't lead the way in their realities, because how do you feel wealthy without money in your bank account? This is why I was saying easier said than done, right? Saint Germain the Alchemist. But then the thing that we really, really want, the vibration, the resonance, we know it feels different. What is something that you really desire right now in your life? A trip somewhere, a relationship, a partnership, a mending of a relationship, a family, money in the account, freedom, better clients, flow, clarity. Think about the thing that you really, really want, that you believe would make your life so much better. Now take a moment to just look inwards for a moment and tune into what that feeling feels like when you think about that thing. And what you'll find is it's a very mixed signal you're sending out. You really, really want it, but there's like that desperation, that fear, that anxiety that it's never going to happen. I remember when I was single, I literally thought in my head, I was Googling, I'm not even shitting you, what are the statistical chances of falling in love over 30? Because in my head, I was like literally so afraid that I was going to be one of these like single cat ladies for the rest of my life. There was so much anxiety behind that desire because I wanted it so bad. And the idea that it would not happen to me was red, 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 red light. It is impossible to be fully calibrated, to be fully locked in, to be leading the way. If you think of yourself as this physical thing, you commanding a physical thing that sends a signal and that receives information, antenna and signal. It is impossible to send out the signal that matches the probability of the outcome you desire, because that's the key to stepping into that outcome. That's the key to landing yourself right where you want with minimal chaos and accelerated time frame. You got to match it. That's what we talked about yesterday. It's impossible to be matching that if you're aware that you don't have it in your reality. This is a big one. You cannot be calibrated to the desired outcome that you seek when you're aware you don't have it. And this is why your intention setting and your affirmations and your journaling and all these things don't work, because if you truly check in on yourself, the things that you really desire, you have red light over. You're conflicting the signals. And so instead of zeroing in, going as the magician, going, this is where I'm going to fucking land, and pulling yourself from the present to that future destination, now it's like your ship out to sea of probabilities everywhere. And I would not bet on those odds. Let's just put it that way. You cannot be aware that you're lonely and attract a divine relationship. You cannot be aware that you don't have freedom and you have no money and attract financial abundance. They're conflicting signals because they're duals of each other. They're polar opposites. You gotta pick one or the other. And what you'll find is the one you're practicing the most is the red light signal, is the one of fear, of anxiety, of lack, of scarcity, of like, fuck, I don't have it. Acute awareness and perception of the lack in your reality. The walk of the alchemist is sometimes one that looks insane from the outside, and it feels insane on the inside too. Because the alchemist is the one who enchants themselves to such a level that they they're confused. They're confused, literally, when they're presented with their present reality that doesn't match the one they've invented. That's when you know you've calibrated. The moment you do that, whoosh, you've put that X right there. That is your highest chance of landing exactly where you want with minimal chaos in accelerated time. There's no other way to guarantee it at that level. I've seen this time and time again. When I was working from the wrong equation, mind you, but nevertheless, it was money I was after. Literally, this is what my first mentor told me. And this is what's so funny about the world of magic and alchemy, and why I use the words magic and alchemy, because the idea of feel the way that you want to feel, this was what my first mentor told me: feel, think, and act like the version of yourself that has $1 million in the bank account. This is all principles of manifestation, law of attraction. Most of us have heard about this before. Guess what? All of these concepts, law of attraction, that's like 30 years old, if that. These were taken from alchemy, from magic, from esotericism. These ideas have been around for over 50,000 years. If you begin to study the Book of the Dead, what the ancient Egyptians talked about, these ideas were exactly what's being repackaged to us under these New Age terms. So I obliged. I followed his advice, mostly because I had no plan B and I was broke as hell. I'd invested my last dollar in him, and I enchanted myself into believing that I had $1 million in my bank account. And it worked really well. More money than I could have even dreamed of for myself, and very fast, very, very fast. I did the same thing when I was calling my partner to me. For a long time, I was single and miserable and lonely, and just, that whole thing made me depressed. A lot of fear that I would never find that person. Self-worth issues. Maybe I was not pretty enough, or maybe I wasn't this. And if I change all these things about myself, then I'll be deserving of love. None of that worked. The people I attracted were not the right people for me. Chaos, chaos, chaos. It was only when I calibrated to the resonance of the individual who already had a loving relationship that suddenly this man waltzes in the most unexpected and random of ways in my life. And when he came into my life, it was almost like I didn't care as much. I was almost kind of like a little bit bothered by it, because I was like so gelling with the reality I had created that I didn't even need him that much. Subtle shift, guys, but life-changing. Same thing with money. When the $1 million came into my life, I barely noticed. My whole life I had thought when I hit $1 million, it's going to be like huge boat party, celebration, my life. I will feel so different. That was not it at all. It passed us by. We didn't even notice. It didn't change the way I felt, because already I was calibrated to that, which meant I wasn't fixing onto it and desperate either. My self-worth, my state of being was not reliant on this thing. Now, obviously, that equation was not leading me anywhere good long term, but you get the point. So how do you know if you're calibrated to what you want? Here's the simple litmus test. If you know, and if you're aware that you don't have it, and you perceive that a lot, you're not. You're sending out a mixed signal. You're a boat in the middle of the sea of probabilities. Good luck landing where you want to be. In fact, what I will tell you is that if you continue to run that circuit of perceiving the lack, of the red light emotions, you likely are going to pull yourself into that loop for a while. You're likely going to invite a lot of chaos to help you bring you out of that loop. That's how it happens. You're a creative being. You are this creative force of love, of expansion, of transformation. You're here to express and experience all that you desire. You're here to fulfill those desires. You use chaos as a force to assist you when you're not leading the way. That's what happens. When you are not honoring and intentionally fulfilling your creative core and your desires, you will use chaos as a way to pull you back. But chaos is optional. We may not be able to completely eradicate it from our lives because it is a powerful force of creation, but we can certainly minimize it by simply honoring our creative core, our desires, validating ourselves, switching the equation so that we equal desire, not bank account, not a person, not a baby, not this. These are all conditions that we place over our desires, over our creative core. And the moment we place conditions like that, we're making things very difficult for ourselves. Makes for a good story down the line, that's for sure. But it doesn't have to be like that. Is this making sense? Now, of course, this is the catch-22. The alchemist leads the way. They enchant themselves to such a level that they're confused. When this is what was happening to me, I would test drive cars, Porsches, Mercedes, beautiful cars, and then I would get into my Nissan and I was like momentarily confused, like, what the fuck is this car? Where's my Porsche? That's when we know we've done it. We've calibrated. We've locked in and zeroed in on that probability. That's when reality has no chance, no choice but to match up and come and play ball. That's how you call it to yourself with minimal chaos. That's the way. Not pushing, not sacrificing, not coercion, not through chaos. Doing it through chaos will only invite more chaos because that's not how you're supposed to operate. But of course, how are you supposed to match the frequency of wealth and abundance when you don't have money in the bank account, when there's clearly things in your life financially stressing you out, responsibilities, mouths to feed, family members telling you, well, I'm really concerned about the economy? How are you supposed to find that calibration? How are you supposed to find the calibration of creative freedom, fulfillment, and financial abundance when you've never felt that even once in your life? You have zero muscle memory of that. To top it off, you have there's like no one that's ever modeled it for you. Probably your parents did not model that for you. Your parents probably modeled hard work, right? Work hard. And then, I'm telling you, the hardest workers are the maids cleaning the hotel rooms, and they don't make much money. So again, that equation is fucked up. That's not true, because there's a lot of people that work hard. I worked like a plow horse. Didn't give me freedom. So it can't be that. That's not the equation. How do you find this resonance? And how do you enchant yourself? When there's been no one to model that for you, and there's been no muscle memory for you to tune into, and there's real things in your 3D physical reality telling you, pulling you back into that red, going, pay attention to the problems and the lack and the gap. And we get yanked into it. Easier said than done, right? And this is the reason why most people don't achieve the outcomes that they want or don't get themselves what they desire and will never get themselves to what they want. This is the reason why most people cannot be alchemists or will not be alchemists. Everybody can be an alchemist, but they won't be because it's really easy to create vision boards. It's so much fun to say affirmations. It feels like flow to write in our journals. That's not hard. We could do that all day and day out if that's what real magic was all about and only about. We'd all be free and loving life right now. But that's only part of the equation. That's only part of the process of magic. Without you leading the way, without your signal dialed in and tuned in to match as closely as possible the probability that you desire, good luck. We're shooting a dart into a black hole is basically what's happening then. So the alchemist is the one who intentionally begins the work of enchanting themselves to such a level that they fool themselves. They reprogram circuits of beliefs into the source codes of their very being so that they are vibrating, they are speaking, they are talking, they are acting and behaving as if it were. And I'm not gonna lie, it looks fucking mad to people on the outside. This is why sometimes it's good to incubate yourself from certain people or certain influences when you're doing this work. Because, sure, they're well-intentioned, but they're not gonna get it. Why the fuck are you acting like you have all the time in the world when there's problems and fires and things to put out? And I'm not gonna lie, you're maybe gonna feel a little bit crazy in that process too, because the biggest critic is probably not gonna be your family. It's probably not gonna be your spouse or your friends or loved ones. It's gonna be you. Like it always has been. That little voice in your head going, what the fuck are you on? What are we doing here? There's problems over here. Why are we acting like there's not? Go and put your focus over here. Our brains are problem-solving machines. We love problems. So we see a problem and we focus on it. We fixate on it. Yes. Hop in that Lambo. What? This is not my car? What are you talking about? Police, I swear. So we have a good way to make sure that we don't get ourselves in shit through this process, and that's by following the red light, green light system, which many of you guys hopefully have encountered before. Whereby, if we're feeling emotions or a state of being that stresses us out, red light stresses our nervous system, we don't try to do this stuff when we're in that state. Only when we're in green. And when you do that, you're going to be in integrity with your magic and what you're trying to conjure for yourself. So the key here is to understand that in this process, this is actually quite simple on paper, right? We just got to find the resonance. You got to imagine yourself a signal and dial that in and closely match it and hold it for periods of time. And then you will literally throw that dart exactly where you want it. And it will come to you in the most like delicious, serendipitous, incredible of ways. Better than you could have ever scripted for yourself. 10 times better. We already know this is true because, again, the things that we don't really hold that much attachment to, that we don't really care that much if we manifest or not. It comes to us so easily. There's no pushing or coercing. It'll be like this person bumped into that told them, and that's how it happened. It's like, what? That's incredible. And it's always so incredibly delicious how it happens. It's like, I did not expect it to be this. But along that process of tuning that dial in, we're going to have some obstacles. And the main one is going to be our inner voice, the inner critic, because this part of our mind, this rational mind, if you will, can only ever base decisions, even though it has your best intentions at heart, even though it's trying to look after you, keep you alive in this physical thing. It can only base decisions off of what kind of information? Past experiences and observations. That's it. It's literally the only input of information that goes into your rational mind. So even though your rational mind is really, really trying to protect you and has the best intentions for you, the quality of the information that it computes decisions or advice from is low quality, because the past and observations is not high quality information at all. The past can only give you more of the past, right? As Dr. Joe Dispenza says. And you've probably never observed somebody like me or somebody who is creatively free and receiving financial abundance. It's probably not something you've had in your life. Maybe you suspect it. You're here because you're aware that it exists. You're listening to me. You're on this call because there's an idea that this is possible has been planted to you. Maybe you've seen it a few times, but I promise you, you probably haven't had that many people to model this for you. So you're, with all due respect, our rational mind, even though it's trying to help us, it doesn't have the best data points to go off of. Because what it has observed is hard work. That's what it's observed. It's observed people pushing, sacrificing, toiling. It's observed success coming at a cost. These things are true for your mind. And they form the basis of the belief system from which you operate. And then it's like we're waiting for reality, for other people to break that circuit, to reshift our beliefs, to hand it over to us on a silver platter, and we're waiting a fucking long time. It doesn't happen like that. You lead the way. Which means you're going to have to politely tune down the volume of this voice. You're going to have to accept that leading the way is going to feel uncomfortable for you at first. Because people might question you and go, what the fuck are they on? What the hell is this? And then you're going to have to be so intentional in finding that resonance and enchanting yourself to such a level that you no longer notice that you don't have it. If you're still aware that you don't have it, it means you haven't calibrated. It means you're inviting chaos. It means you're pushing, you're struggling, you're going about it the really, really long way. And what's funny is that the moment we calibrate and we lead the way and we find the resonance, suddenly, ironically, because we don't really care anymore, because we fooled ourselves into believing that we have it, it comes so easily. So easily. This is like pretty much every person can say this about how they met their partner. It was when I was finally happy being single that I met my partner. It was when I stopped trying to have a baby that I got pregnant. This says a lot, guys. We get this already. The greatest irony is when we stopped chasing these specific things, especially like a six-figure business or this, that suddenly what we desire comes to us like way easier, way faster, and 10 times better than what we wanted. My business has not even scratched the surface of what my previous company did financially, but the structure, higher profits. I have one call a week with the COVID. I don't do any sales meetings. I don't have any team meetings. It's made me realize, I was chasing like 30 million, 100 million, these figures, thinking that that would be the thing that would give the thing that I wanted. Now I realize, I can actually have this thing right now at this level. And it's like way better than when I had the 20 million. And I have just as much freedom, just as much opportunities to invest or travel or do these things. And the irony is that because I've calibrated to that, clients come to me with ease. These conversations flow. In the past, I had, $40,000, $60,000 a month in ad spend, Facebook ads. It was like a machine that kept feeding. Now, boosted posts, $5, if that. There's nothing. There's no fancy sales funnels or anything in the back. And yet, money comes to me to support my creative expression and desires. Always. It always comes. It comes to reduce chaos in my life, not to cause more chaos. Subtle, but life-changing shift. If you're here because financial freedom and fulfillment is what you seek, financial and creative freedom, right? It's one thing to have lots of money. I promise you that's going to get really boring. You're going to want to have your freedom, time, creative freedom. If you're a visionary, an entrepreneur, somebody with lots of ideas, a creative, chances are you go through manic stages and then writer's blocks, introversion, moments of recovery. True freedom is the ability to allow that to yourself so that when you hit a slump, when you hit a moment of writer's block, when you hit a moment where you don't want to create or be on social media or do whatever, you fucking don't. And there's no like guilt or shame of like, oh, you really should be posting because if you don't post 10 times, you're not going to be able to make the money. My goodness, how exhausting, right? This was the calibration I was in before. It was like manic, never ending. People would talk to me, my kids would be around me, and in the back of my head, I'm somewhere else, doing to-do lists, never really present. Constantly like this like frenetic energy behind everything that I was doing. I could not even honor my creative process. It was no wonder, it was no surprise I got really depressed. So if that's what you want, by the way, you have to recognize you're trying to enter the 1% of the world's population. You're trying to stack your odds against the odds. You're trying to create and craft for yourself something that very few people on this planet are ever going to come even close to doing. I'm telling you, I would never put any bets on you. Your odds are very, very slim of placing yourself in that 1%, which is even less than 1%, because 1% represents financial. Of that 1%, how many of those people are actually creatively free? They might have money. How many are actually fulfilled and creatively free. It's even smaller than that. That's where you're trying to put yourself right now. You are going against the odds. There's no way you're going to land yourself there if you don't lead the way. If you're waiting for your bank account or for people or your clients or whatever around you to hand it over to you on a silver platter, if you think pushing your way, sacrificing your way, coercing your way is going to be what brings you there, you're going to be left with a bittersweet taste in your mouth. You can get there. 100%. Why do I say this so confidently? Well, mostly because the reason it's only 1% of the world's population is because literally most of us on this planet work from the wrong equations. And that's the reason it's so small. The other reason I say this is because you are the alchemist. You're here to express and experience. You're here to fulfill desires, and money is a human construct. You are therefore inherently deserving of money, always, no matter your background, no matter where you came from, no matter what you've done, because you are the device, are the tool that invents the money. So of course it's yours if you want it, but you got to lead the way. And this is why most people won't ever get where they want, because they're not willing to do that. They're too scared. They're too afraid. They don't know how. They don't know how to enchant themselves, how to find that calibration so that they match that probability and land themselves exactly where they want. They don't know how to fulfill their desires. Yeah, let's start printing. Is this making sense? Is this resonating? That's the word of the day. Resonance, because literally you're a beacon of information coming in and sending out. And that's what your emotions are, these vibrations that you send out all around you. And what we seem to know about reality more than anything, because we actually don't know much about reality, but what we seem to be observing time and time again is that your perception, your beliefs, that's what's going to shape your very experience of it. That consciousness and matter are entangled, and that consciousness, you, seems to have the ability to change matter itself. This is what magic is. This is how I define magic. The ability to create change, physical change from imagination alone, the non-physical. Touches nerves. Good, as it should, because this is a message I want you to feel. This is important. This is the key. It's so subtle, but it's life-changing. So when I decided that I was going to redefine the rules of success for myself, this is what I did. I calibrated. And then I remember there was a tax bill that came out of nowhere. And I was confused because I went to pay it, but I didn't have the amounts. And I was like, what? Where's my money? That's when you know. So yeah, it's a little bit of a whack job to do this because you look fucking crazy to people on the outside, and for sure you're gonna seem crazy to yourself. And this is part of magic, is how we balance this. But it does require a small amount of insanity. Now, for those of you guys who want to lock in and find that calibration, who want to find that resonance and accelerate that, who want to discover what the resonance of financial freedom and fulfillment, creative fulfillment, what that vibration feels like, I want to share it with you. I want us to vibe together. I want to help you tune in that dial. And this is going to be deep level alchemy work together. For anybody who maybe has been told that money is evil or greedy, and they understand that these beliefs they've been told is what's keeping them from receiving and playing big. For anybody who struggles to receive money, maybe money comes into your bank account and you feel anxious the moment it does because you've always associated money with a cost or a sacrifice, or something's going to go wrong. You don't even know how to receive it. Your calibration is way fucking off. For those of you who are tired of success coming at a cost, you're hustling, you've got the work ethic, nobody can fault you, you've tried everything under the sun, you've dotted your T's, you've dotted your I's, crossed your T's, hired the right people, put in the mentors, and nothing is working. You're spinning your wheels and you're in a structure that is stifling your soul. You can't breathe, you don't know how to move out of it, you don't know how to shift out of it, and it just feels like chaos. For those of you who have become cynical of money, as I was, you resent the fact that you even have to think about it. You wish you could live in a world without money. Money's not the problem, remember. It's just an equation. It's like getting mad at a fraction or something, at a multiplication table. Doesn't make sense. But it's normal when you're struggling for so long, or when you've achieved success and it didn't get you where you wanted and cost a lot in the process. Yeah, you become cynical of money. For those of you who are ready to lead the way, who are ready to validate their desires, who are ready to aim that dart and land it exactly where they want, who are ready to enchant themselves, who are ready to calibrate so that they feel, think, act, and behave as if it already were, to such a degree that belief is the signal. Abracadabra. I create as I speak. It's only a half truth, right? It's all well and good to say intentions and to go, I want this and this and this figure and all of these things, but without that peace, without that resonance, without that belief, it's not going to work. This piece is the hardest part of magic. And when we went through magic source codes last month, for those of you guys that attended that workshop, really that workshop was kind of an overview of my practice of magic, specifically the red light, green light system and high alchemy states. We talked about the steps of magic, intentions, and then using gnosis and belief. This next workshop, deep level alchemy work with me, is zooming in on that process of belief, because that's the hardest piece. That's the piece where people trip up. We have a lot of fun doing the rituals. We have a lot of fun doing all these things, these vision boards, these intentions, these affirmations. Those are easy. Anybody can do that. This is the part that sets the alchemists apart. It's so much easier to lead your way, to lead the way in your reality, when you incubate yourself around ideas and people who are doing it themselves. When you incubate yourself in a tribe who has normalized leading the way. When you incubate yourself around people who say, yeah, I know you feel crazy, but good job, you're on the right track, which you won't fucking hear from anybody else around you. Especially not with economies crashing and all these things. And by the way, they've been saying this about the economy since 2017. I literally have notes and things I wrote down at that time about how Facebook was the end of Facebook, the economy is doomed. It's so easy to get pulled back into red light when you're not careful about how you incubate yourself, who you incubate yourself around, the ideas. Because when you lead the way, you feel crazy, you question yourself, you feel nuts. And so the moment any external thing makes you question that, it's so easy to get pulled out of it. And the moment you get pulled out, the moment you've created conditions, the moment you're no longer fulfilling your creative core, the moment you're using chaos, period. Not because you're punishing yourself, but because you're trying to bring yourself back to that core, to remember yourself. Leading the way takes guts, it takes courage, it takes confidence, and it needs belief. It's so much easier to do this when you incubate yourself in a tribe. You're a human, which means you're deeply social, which means you're deeply influenced by a tribe, which is how most of the shitty beliefs we came to believe in happened, right? Because of what our parents or friends or others modeled for us. That's what we normalized. We never stopped to question and go, wait a minute. Is this really how money comes about? What if I redefined those rules? I want to invite you now to reimagine that for yourself. Because many of you guys are in structures right now where you're doing things you don't want to fucking do because money. And if you're lucky, if you keep doing this, in 10 years' time, you'll get to retire and have a great life. You post things on social media, or you force yourself to do slideshow presentations or proposals or things that you really don't fucking want to do because you think that that's what needs to happen. But let's imagine for a moment that you suddenly operated from the space of, if I don't want to fucking do it, I don't do it. And the more I honor that, the more I support myself with the resources, ideas, people, and money that allows me to continue to honor that. This goes against so much of what we've been taught because people on the outside perceive that as bad work ethic. This is not about being lazy. This is not about, you not delivering. This is about honoring your boundaries. But we have so much resistance to that because of the narrative societies have created around that. We are a society that was pretty much colonized from Romans, warrior societies, where basically women were told to just breed for the army, breed kids, have as many kids as you want. Literally, this is what religions tell people, right? Keep having kids, no contraceptions, because the societies we come from were warring societies. Yeah, you need a lot of babies for armies. That's literally what needs to happen. And these societies also tell us, the structure of society tells us, if you're not working hard, if you're not enlisting, if you're not sacrificing, who are you? Why do you deserve to be here? And I know this is not the structure we're in right now, but these ideas have carried on. Because think about it, the Great Depression, that was not that long ago. That was 2 generations ago. That's your grandparents. They passed that on to your parents, and they passed that on to you. So you're here now to redefine those circuits, to redefine the rules of your reality, to lead the way. If you want to get yourself in that 0.5% of people on this planet who actually experience financial freedom and fulfillment, creative freedom, you don't have a chance in hell unless you lead the way. When you do that, suddenly, I would put bets on it. You have to bet on yourself first. Isn't that funny? But isn't that also beautiful? How else would it be? Right? The alchemist is the one who recognizes reality is just a mirror. It's just a reflection. They don't wait for validation. They don't wait for people to say, yes, that's a good idea. They say, yes, that's a great idea. That's what I want to do. They don't care if people say to them, well, you shouldn't have done that, or why are you walking away from that? They go, I don't want to do it. I'm walking away. And that's enough. They validate themselves. They don't need reasons or excuses or dissecting things. They lead the way. And they know as long as they're doing that, they're always looked after. And if you're here listening to these ideas in this group, it's because you're one of the very few people on this planet that will even come to expose themselves to these ideas, to come to even have a sense of belief that it's possible for you. But you're here because there's been that little seed. You're in the in-between. You have awareness of what you want, and you have where you are now. And you're trying to figure out how to get there because there's a part of you, that seed has been planted. There's a part of you that's like, I can have this. How? Not sure, but I can. That's the first step, guys. Intention, awareness. If you're here, it's because you have that intent. So this is the final step. This is what magic source codes we didn't really go that deeply into. Finding this resonance. This workshop with me is going to take place on August 23rd to 27th. It's going to be 5 days of deep level alchemy work, 5 days of resonance. I'm going to show you techniques of alchemy, of magic, to recircuit beliefs and to enchant yourself to that level. And you're going to hold that resonance over those 5 days in a group, incubated in a group that is going to help you normalize these ideas to such a degree that it will be very difficult to do this on your own. It'll take you much, much longer to do this on your own. And you're going to begin to send that signal out. And at the end of the 5 days, that vibration is going to be locked in. And I'm telling you, the moment you lock into this kind of stuff, reality has no choice. Statistics and odds mean fuck all the moment you lock into that. And when it comes to you, I'm not saying you're going to make a 6-figure business in those 5 days. I'm not saying you're going to find your soulmate within 5 days, but I'm saying to you, you will cultivate that and it will accelerate that and it will come to you in a way that's going to be better than you could have even scripted for yourself without chaos. The only chaos you're going to encounter during this process together is going to be your own inner critic having to lower that. That's it. That's the only. It may also be losing things that are not aligned to you anymore, but those things will fall away in a way that isn't going to destroy your life or be destructive. This is the difference. When we push, when we exert, when we coerce, when we force ourselves, we're doing it through chaos. And we find, yeah, we end up with a a lot of resistance, a very difficult path ahead. When we lock into the resonance, when we calibrate to it suddenly, we don't attract problems. You know this is true because when you feel good, everything is good. It's easy. Clients come, blah, blah, blah. When you feel bad, when somebody pisses you off suddenly, 5 clients dump you. All this shit happens. More fires. Yeah? We know this intuitively. We observe this time and time again. There's something there. There's something there. The alchemist is the one who understands that. This is the invitation. This is for those of you guys who want to redefine the rules, who are tired of success coming at a cost, who want to recalibrate the relationship they have with money so that it supports them. It supports their expression of this beautiful creative being that you are you. And who you will become at the end of this workshop is going to be transformative. Because to hold a calibration so deeply in an environment where you're getting to feel that frequency, calibrating to it. So there is an early bird access to this workshop coming up on the 23rd. And this will end on July 16th, after which the price goes up, doubles. So many of you guys are now being asked to make that move, that calibration, because this investment in this workshop for some of you is going to be an amount that makes you hesitate. It's cheaper now. I would get in during the early bird, but it might make you hesitate. And your mind is going to start to go, but this and this and this and the bills and this and this and this. You lead the way. This is the best time, the best place to start that calibration. This is the power move. The investment in this workshop is basically the price of like 5 pairs of shorts that you're going to buy online. I was looking at a Kim Kardashian makeup set. It's the same price as what she's selling her makeup set. Most of us have no problem spending money. Our money going on Netflix, Amazon, all these things, subscriptions every month that don't really assist us. That a lot of times only give us even more red light and chaos. And so the ask here is to calibrate to that desire, to find that resonance, and to recognize that you make the first move. You decide. It's on you. And over these 5 days that we're going to work together, I'm going to take you through the process of magic. So if you didn't attend Magic Source Codes, don't worry. You will be sent materials ahead of time to ensure that you're up to speed with those that did attend. And we're going to go very deep with this. And because you guys have voted in the group that financial freedom and fulfillment and flow and purpose are what you desire the most, we're going to make it just about that. 5 days of freedom, financial abundance, flow, and purpose. I'm going to show you how to teach yourself to find that space within yourself. I promise you, when you learn to do this, incredible things are going to happen to you. This will be the best investment you ever make in yourself. This is the skill of the alchemist, and this is what sets the alchemist apart. The person who can enchant themselves to hold that probability within the present moment, even when nothing validates that. Because our whole lives, all of us are just waiting for people to validate us. We're just waiting for reality to validate us. We're waiting for other things to validate us. But we know we're trying to do something against the odds here. We're going to have to do something radically different. And not only have I experienced this in my own life, I've seen this in clients. I've seen this in members of the Coven. I've seen this time and time again. I've created many millionaires, guys. And if you were part of the academy or you were part of that journey with me, you'll know one of the first discussions I always had with people coming in was mindset. Because even though I hadn't fleshed out this equation fully back then, I knew without that, without this, without you, it didn't matter what strategy I gave you. Nothing would work. But suddenly the moment somebody locks in to believing it's possible, game over. I don't even have to do anything. I could give you peanut butter and you'll make $1 million from it. That's the difference. The difference is beautiful funnel, amazing offer, amazing marketing, amazing messaging, amazing, everything's perfect, but you don't believe it, nothing works. No matter who you hire, no matter what agency, no matter how much budget. You've seen this happen in your clients as well. On paper, they have everything, and yet it doesn't work. Why? And then vice versa. You have people like me, broken links. Sometimes I send out just Zoom links as RSVPs. Technology, things half fleshed out. Spelling and grammar mistakes everywhere. And yet. And I've seen this with clients too. Blank pages, white pages, no design. This is never going to work. And yet. What's the difference? It's you. You're the key part of that equation. You and your resonance. And if you're intentionally leading the way and fulfilling your desires, and if you're not, you're playing with the wrong equation, and that's why you're not getting where you want to go. Now, easier said than done, and this is what this workshop is about. It's about placing you in an environment where you are around people who are leading the way and tuned into that frequency so that you too can observe this, and this will help your rational mind, because that mind is going to be so fucking loud. And if you don't have people modeling it, if you're not incubating yourself around a tribe doing that, it's hard, because that mind is very powerful. It convinces you of some strange things. So the more we can show it, hey, look, people are doing it, the more it's going to come on board with you. It's going to be like, oh, okay, interesting. Let's reshift this. The easier it will become. So this is Resonance Rituals. This is my second magic workshop that I will be running. It is such a deep honor. Literally, I am walking the talk with this, because you must believe when I came out about magic, there was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of people telling me like, no, what are you doing? You're going to lose. People telling me they're unsubscribing from the list. I had no validation. In fact, I had everything telling me like, what the fuck are you doing? I had to embody this very thing I'm talking to you about. And now I'm here to show you. I'm so fucking grateful I did that, because I literally feel like I'm a kid in the candy store talking about this. It doesn't feel like work. It feels so nurturing and dharmic to be able to take people through these ideas, fulfilling, and I have freedom. I'm going on holiday with my family, and this will be the first holiday since COVID, but also the first holiday in my entire professional career where I'm not going to be attached to my phone or thinking about lists or clients or this or this. I'm just going to be with, I'm so excited. That's what I want from you, for you. And I'm telling you, it wasn't money that got me there. That wasn't what did it. It wasn't my scratching my to-do list that got me there. No, I've been there, done that, seen peers in that. That's not what solves that equation, guys. It's you. It was me all along. I had to take that step and I had to back myself and find that resonance. So this is what resonance rituals is about. Deep level alchemy work to find that calibration, to tune in the dial, to hold it, and to completely change the vibration of your being so that you can lead the way, so that you can believe it's possible for yourself. And you're going to witness some incredible things in your life and in the lives of the peers that you're going to be involved with. So to enroll at the early bird price, go to www.theflowprotocols/resonance. As I mentioned, the price doubles on July 16th. So make sure that you enroll before this time. And because I am calling you guys to take that step, this power play of like, yes, I know this investment for some of you guys, for some of you, it's not even going to be a big deal. It's not a big amount. It's literally like what Kim K charges on her makeup set. You've spent that amount on far stupider shit in your life. This is going to be life-changing. For some of you, it might be a stretch and you might go, ooh, but this is the power play. To shift that dynamic with money, to go, I know when it leaves, it comes back. It's a flow, like a wave. The more I constrict it and notice how it's not there. And for those of you guys that are action takers, because that's the ones that truly get results, the ones who back themselves, who follow through, who take the action. This is, I cannot tune in your dial for you. I'm going to show you, I'm going to calibrate, I'm going to show you, but ultimately you have to walk, you have to lead the way. You're the one who has to do that. So action is going to be crucial here. Not action as in pushing and like physical, but actually like intentionally doing it. And for those of you guys that enroll within the next 24 hours, it shows me that you're action takers. It shows me that you're there. You're also going to be receiving a ritual box as part of your enrollment. And this box will contain materials, custom made, bespoke items that will be specific for what we're going to be doing together. And I need you guys to enroll in the early bird for this because the box is going to take a moment. I live in New Zealand, so postal here, to make sure it gets to you on time. Yes, the early bird is $5.97 and the price will be $12.97 July 16th. So head to the www.flowprotocols, I'll put a link below, .com/resonance. And for those of you guys that enroll at the early bird price within the next 24-hour window, you're also going to receive a ritual box, an alchemy box that will support the work that we're going to be doing together. If you don't get this box, don't worry. It's not necessary. You don't need anything outside of yourself. This is what we talked about yesterday with Dean, the robes, the chanting, all of that stuff. That's really just for show. It's really just to further enchant you. Everything you need for real life alchemy to create and fulfill your desires is within yourself. That's it. That's what real magic is. It's not spirits. It's not woohoo things. It's not any of that. It's all within yourself. But nobody, the world, reality is not going to be the one to go, hey, let me give that to you. You have to be the one that takes that rein, those reins, and guides the horse. You have to be the one that sets in the destination and goes and gets it. Period. You have to be the one that believes in your own magic and alchemy to such a level that there's no fucking doubt it's happening. And if you don't have that, if you're noticing, if you're aware that you don't have the money, if you're noticing that you're lonely, if you're noticing that you're stuck and unfulfilled and you hate your job, you haven't matched that resonance. and your dart is kind of like, who knows, it's gone in a black hole somewhere. If you land where you land, we're not sure where you're gonna go. When you lead the way and you find this calibration, not only is this going to be life-changing for you, but you are going to create ripple effects all around you. Because just like I was talking about how these circuits of messed up beliefs have been passed on from generation, this is what we're doing to our kids when we sacrifice and hustle and become overwhelmed. What are we teaching our kids? This is literally what they're going to go and do and model. We have a chance now, an opportunity to break these circuits of equations that just don't fucking work for nobody. Maybe they worked when the Romans were around, but they don't fucking work nowadays. That's for damn sure. People around you in your life, maybe even people now that doubt you, that are concerned about you, or that you have tension with, are going to see you walking the talk, are going to see you redefining the rules of reality. And what do you think that's going to do to them? It's going to make them go like, oh shit, am I able to do this too? Can I have this too? What? If they can do it? You're going to create ripples of consciousness that is going to benefit us all. So it's actually fucking selfish to not lead the way. Because then we're just perpetrating these circuits of red light abuse, these equations that all lead us to the same place. Red, 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 red. You equal freedom. Period. That's the equation. When you do that mathematical equation, suddenly the money, the resources, the ideas, all of that comes to support. But it's not, the equation is never money equals freedom. And that's where we're all twisted with things. You equal freedom. You equal fulfillment. You equal flow. You equal flow. A purpose. That's you. And if you've forgotten that, or it doesn't feel like that, or that doesn't feel true, then you definitely need to be part of this container, of this workshop, so that you can come to remember yourself. Because you're gonna keep encountering chaos until you do. Plain and simple. You're a creative being, and you are very powerful, and you are very capable, and you have complete dominion over your reality. And if anybody's told you otherwise, it's only because they were projecting their own incorrect equations or insecurities. But you are the alchemist. This is your playground. You're here to play with the resonance of reality, both as signal and antenna. And this is what resonance rituals will be all about. So let me know when you sign up, if you're in, who has taken this commitment to themselves. And July 16th, yeah, sorry, I got the date wrong. Early bird ends July 16th. If you would like to receive a ritual box, get in within the next 24 hours. Again, if you don't make that 24 hours window, just remember the ritual box is just a bonus. You don't need anything outside of yourself. The techniques that we're going to be doing is very deep level alchemy work. If you have an existing practice of alchemy, this is going to be a really great way to expand that practice. If you're curious about magic and you've just dabbled in it, this will be perfect. If you've done vision boards, manifestation, law of attraction, perfect. Because again, all those concepts are just magic repackaged for, modern day mass media. If you're just not sure, you're testing the waters, this will be a great way to experience alchemy on a whole different level. And we're going to be working through some concepts that are very unique to my practice around red light, green light, and high alchemy states. All of this will be infused. It'll be perfect if you attended Magic Source Codes, because this is the next level from this. We're focusing on that last part, that belief, that part that is the hardest part of performing magic. Without this part, magic doesn't really work. This part locked in, this part calibrated to, suddenly life gets really fun. We start to ask, we receive, just like Abraham Hicks says, ask and we receive. So regardless if you decide to join me or not beyond this, I hope today's training has helped you to pop some ideas around what is possible and maybe why you're not obtaining what it is that you desire. And I hope that it inspires you. If you're feeling stuck or trapped or unfulfilled or been spinning your wheels, I hope this inspires you. Today's conversation was all about a remembering. We're here to have fun. We're here to express ourselves. We're here to play with this resonance of reality. Bounce things in and out. And the practice of doing that at first is going to be a little bit like, ooh, unnatural. But then when you fall into it, it becomes a lot of fun, and it becomes way easier to find calibrations and dials of frequencies that you want, because you'll start trusting yourself. You'll start building confidence. You'll start bringing and cultivating and calling the things that you want and going, yeah, okay, there's no doubt in my mind. I am the one who leads the way. That's you. So I hope to see you guys on the workshop Resonance Rituals. Have a fantastic rest of the week. I'll drop the link below if you have any questions. You can also email support@theflowprotocols.com or just pop it below if you'd like, and I'll make sure that that gets answered. And I'm excited. I'm excited to go deeper with this with some of you guys on here and to show you what you're really, really capable of. This is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. It has been a real pleasure talking about magic and alchemy. It's like I have to pinch myself sometimes that this is my life. And the process of me getting here was literally the process I'm going to be showing you. I had to do the same thing. I had to validate myself all the way. And I'm telling you, it is so much better than the structure I had before. The equation works so much more. So much better. So those are my final words. Enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And I will see you guys on the next one.